Welcome to Inglewood. I want to welcome our esteemed leader from the mighty, mighty West Side, Mayor Brandon Johnson, Deputy Mayor Garion Gatewood, Inglewood's own Superintendent Larry Snelling, and all of our city officials, community leaders, and business leaders. Today marks an extremely important day, not only for the 16th Ward, but the city of Chicago and Inglewood neighborhood, as we continue to exemplify Inglewood excellence, a thriving community which is being exercised today. The collaboration of the Mayor's Office, CPD, various city services and other departments, community organizations, and business community working collectively as a programmatic thrust in addressing the root causes of crime throughout the city of Chicago. I share in Mayor Johnson's vision in creating safer neighborhoods by investing in people. The holistic approach to responding to violence is groundbreaking. Mayor Johnson, this vision has been clear, and we are addressing the root causes of crime with a comprehensive and collective strategy amongst every individual in this room. It's all about building a safer, better Chicago. Here in Inglewood, we have benefited from the efforts of some of Chicago's most talented professionals who are responsible for managing our city services. But what Mayor Johnson is spearheading here today, and those individuals under his leadership will now work hand in hand with community leaders in addressing, improving, and enhancing public safety throughout the city of Chicago. I want to thank the mayor and his bold and compassionate leadership. Mayor Johnson has a keen sense of how public safety, public works, public health should be attached to the very fiber and cornerstone of our neighborhoods, which is our residents. I am honored to introduce the leader of the great city of Chicago, the visionary. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Thank you so much, Alderwoman Coleman, and good morning to everyone who's here today. And thank you for taking time to be with us. We're here at Kennedy King College on the city's south side. I bring you greetings from the west side of the city of Chicago. But I'm so grateful that we are launching this new plan for community safety right here on the south side. As a former social studies teacher, I hope you'll indulge me just a little bit as I provide you with just a little bit of a brief lesson about this space. You know, Kennedy King College was founded in 1934 out of a great need for higher education institutions to exist in the city of Chicago. Originally named Wilson and Wright Colleges. But in the 1960s, when college students across the nation were protesting war, violence, and hate, Wilson Junior College was renamed Kennedy King College in 1969 to honor U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy and the civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 1 year after they were assassinated. Dr. King and Senator Kennedy were two men who strived for equality. They deeply understood that solving our most pressing problems requires partnerships. And their names on this school remind the students who pass through that progress can always be achieved through unity. And this college has served the city's south side for generations of students and Chicagoans. It is a beacon of hope in a neighborhood that has dealt with some of the most severe impacts of historic and purposeful disinvestment. It is symbolic that we are here at Kennedy King College on the south side of Chicago today to launch the People's Plan for Community Safety that will bring our city together to deliver a better, stronger, and a much safer Chicago. And this is a community that has the incredible ability to have this initiative led by the community to harness the full force of government, community organizations, businesses, the philanthropic community, youth leaders, our faith leaders, to solve decades-long problems. And to solve these problems in a new way, a bold way, an intentional way, the People's Plan for Community Safety will protect the people who are most impacted by violence and prevent future violence through intentional investments in our people and communities. Isn't it about time that we do what safe communities around this country have done, which is to invest in people? That's what this operation and this people purpose-driven plan is all about. The City of Chicago aims to make Chicago safer through two strategies. One, being people-based. This phase of the plan focuses our efforts on the Chicagoans who are most impacted by, again, the historic disinvestment and violence. This includes outreach and intervention with youth and adults, the highest promise. That is, members of our community who have been most impacted by perpetual harm and violence. So in other words, the people who are most impacted get to provide us with the very direction to solve these critical problems. We will also provide support for victims and survivors of violence through intentional investments. The second part of the plan is not just people-based, but it's also place-based. Where this is a crisis, you must triage. And that is why we are first focusing our efforts on the neighborhoods that have suffered from decades of indifference and disinvestment. To ensure a safer Chicago for generations to come, this plan focuses on addressing the root causes of violence through a layered long-term investments in key areas: education, economic opportunity, healthcare, community investment, making sure that we have a healthy environment, particularly around climate, housing, community violence intervention, and of course, policing. We are confident that this approach will show results and deliver a safer Chicago for all of us because it shares the responsibility of safety across the city. Not one person nor one entity can solve the decades of disinvestment. It is literally going to take all of us. And government alone will not be able to make Chicago safer. All of us will be able to make the city of Chicago safer. The People's Plan unites the many groups who have been working to reduce violence in our city and all who call Chicago home to make sure that we are producing a vibrant and a far more thriving city. Everyone has a role to play in building a safer, stronger city. Everyone has a role to play in making sure that our communities are fully supported. Businesses can help by creating economic opportunities. The faith community can also help us to build stronger community bonds. Youth leaders can inspire fellow peers to engage in education and careers. It's just to name a few examples. It is the people of Chicago who make our city great. And it will be the people of Chicago who will help build a safer city. I'm honored and humbled to launch this initiative as mayor today. But also, as a Chicagoan, I feel personally responsible to make sure that children get a chance to grow up and experience the best part of this city. You all know that I love talking about the Austin neighborhood. I see a few West Siders in the room today. That's good. No. They're real quiet today, so that's... You should appreciate that, just saying. But I cannot deny that as beautiful as the west side of Chicago is, as beautiful as the neighborhood of Austin is, can't deny the fact that neighborhoods like mine have been shattered because there's not a real sense of safety and opportunity for people. No one should be afraid to walk around the block in the greatest city in the world. Safety is an essential human need. Safety is a right. As mayor and as city leaders, let's claim our responsibility. Let's honor our residents' desire and their right to safety by working together, by taking this first bold step as we move forward. And we will move with urgency. We will move with strategic intention, we also will move together, collaboratively, to deliver a safer Chicago for everyone. We remain committed to this mission. I want to thank all of our partners that are here today, all of our residents who work alongside of each other, everyone who is committed to working with my administration as part of this initiative. We will continue to contribute collectively to the overall safety for the people of Chicago. I want to thank our Deputy Mayor for Community Safety, the first in the history of Chicago, Mr. Garion Gatewood. And as much as I'm grateful for him, you know, he came in with bow ties in my administration. He was doing a little too much there, so we had to, you know, it's just, you can't try to outdress the mayor of Chicago. So thank you, Garion, for bringing that down a little bit. But thank you for your love and the way you have brought people together. But I also want to thank the son of Inglewood, Superintendent Snelling, for his leadership of building the police department and his commitment to a holistic approach to safety. Thank you, Superintendent Snelling. And with that, it is my honor and privilege to bring to the podium our Deputy Mayor for Community Safety, Mr. Garion Gatewood.
Evening all, afternoon, how y'all doing today? Good. First, I'd like to start by thanking Mayor Johnson and many of our other partners who've joined us here today. I'm excited that we have in this room not only leaders from across city government, but also leaders in philanthropy, business, and nonprofits. We also have community leaders, faith leaders, activists, and organizers. You've often heard the mayor talk about the full force of government. You look behind us. You see what that is? That's the full force of government at every single level. You know, people sometimes say, Gary, you took a big job, and I'm sure you all have heard me respond to that before, and I say, no, we all took a big job because safety is all of our responsibility. That's what I've said from the beginning, and as Deputy Mayor of Community Safety, we've taken it upon ourselves to really work on bringing everybody together to have a comprehensive approach to building safety. We need to continue to build on the work in preventing harm now, while also recognizing sustainable safety can only be achieved by investing in and addressing the root causes. This plan, the People's Plan for Community Safety, lays out that path forward. This isn't a policy. This isn't one of those policies that will sit on the shelf in City Hall that's 150 pages long. What this is and what we are launching today is a deliberate and intentional action plan that we will create with community to interrupt and address acute violence while also eradicating those root causes. It's a plan that uplifts people and neighborhoods that have been disinvested and underserved. Because of the challenges that we face today, none of those are new. They're results of decades of intentional disinvestment. For far too long, neighborhoods like Inglewood have been ignored. It's no coincidence that the communities with the highest rates of violence also have the highest rates of school closures and unemployment. It's also no coincidence that communities that are disproportionately impacted by violence has the highest populations of young people and adults who are trapped in those repeated cycles. We believe that every Chicagoan has a right to feel safe and secure in their community. We also believe that it takes all of us to get there, collaboratively and together. The People's Plan for Community Safety aims to address those decades of disinvestment with purposeful, intentional investment to get to those root causes of harm. As the mayor stated, we will focus on the most impacted places of violence through a two-pronged approach. People-based, where we interrupt violence and protect victims and survivors, as well as our young people and adults of highest promise, who are members of our communities who have constantly been impacted by the repeated cycles of harm. And we'll also take a place-based approach, eradicating the root causes of harm by focusing on areas that we know are needed to make a difference in the communities that need us the most. We have to show up in a different way, Al. Government has to be what government hasn't been before. And we have to be in places we hadn't been before. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've been in rooms where wheels have been reinvented 35 times already. That doesn't work. Plus, we don't have time for that. What we have time to do is see what's working, build on what's working, collaborate, and go from there. So for the last 6 months, we've been listening. You can ask my wife over there how much we've been listening based on how much sleep I get. We've been listening. We've been bringing people together to help us build on the foundational elements of this strategy. We've held hundreds of hours of meetings, and I wish I was joking about that, but a lot of you have sat through those meetings with us in those rooms, so you know how much we've been working on this. Many of you folks in the room today have been with us on this journey, and this is only the beginning, so we appreciate you, because there's a lot of work to do. We set out pillars that we wanted to invest in, starting with education, understanding that if we want to address violence, if we want to eradicate violence, we can't only rely on law enforcement. So we started to look at pillars: education, housing, sustainable employment, and expanding access to health. We invest in improvements in buildings and activating safety spaces as well. We have to continue this crucial work to also build trust not only between community and police, because we often say that and we start to use that as a buzzword, as if police are not a part of the community, or as if they're actual systems that we already trust. So we have to work together to build that trust in systems, because we need to build those together. We also have to continue advancing our work in community violence intervention. As you see, a lot of folks in this room have been working in those spaces for quite some time. And I'll tell you, one of the big things that is different about the way we've approached this work to what you see now is that level of commitment and partnership. You'll hear later on from Eric Smith, who is also the co-chair over at the Civic Committee's team of public safety, where now you see the business community is actually committed towards driving safety and committed towards building prospects and jobs in communities. We also want to thank our partners in philanthropy. Right? We want to thank Andrea Sands from Chicago Community Trust, who's up here with us, and particularly the Partnership for Safe and Peaceful Communities and the work that's being spearheaded by Esther Franco Payne. Taken together, there's no doubt that we have a comprehensive approach to this work. And as the mayor said, when there's a crisis, you have to triage it. And that's why we're piloting this plan in a handful of communities, areas that are most in need of intervention. To select these communities, we looked at data, we looked at measures of disinvestment, and we talked to people. We also don't get here without talking to those alders who helped us understand what communities were most in need, who was most impactful in their communities, and how we could bring those folks together to the table. We want to empower cross-sector work, and we want to continue to build on collaboration. There's a safer Chicago in our future, because Chicagoans are going to build that future together. Thank you for coming out today. We're excited to begin to work with you. And now we're going to bring up the son of Inglewood, Superintendent Larry Snelling.
Good afternoon. Come on, Inglewood. Good afternoon. Okay, all right, that's a little better. All right, we got to show the West Side is up. But West Siders, thank you for being here. Thank you for making the journey. We appreciate you. I'd like to say thank you to Mayor Johnson, Alderman Coleman. Thank you. We have worked closely with Alderman Coleman over here. Great partnership, great leader. To Deputy Mayor Gatewood, thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who is here today, standing with us on the stage here. This is just great collaboration. Seeing these people here is refreshing to me, because it says we're going in a different direction. I'd like to thank all of you for being here. Just so you know that I've spoken with people all across the city, whether it's the South Side, West Side, all the way up to the North Side. Everybody has the same concern. And that concern, first and foremost, is a violent crime. Their fear of being robbed or carjacked or shot, or losing the personal property that they've worked so hard for. I'm here to tell you that our officers will be working, and they are now working diligently to do everything in our power to make sure that we keep you safe. We want to stop violent crime, because right now, there are a lot of people who are dealing with trauma because they were victims of that violent crime. The community wants us to enforce the law, but they also want to be heard. And I hear you. It is important that we work with community as partners. Now, we know in order to do that, there's a level of mutual respect, that we have to create, and we have to build that trust. Because of things that have happened in the past, we've recognized those things, and we're working toward partnership with our communities because we cannot do this alone. We've been throwing enforcement at these issues for decades, only to come out with the same result. So to see everyone sitting here right now, the mayor's plan on the full force of government is extremely important because it means that everybody has a hand in what we're doing to make the city of Chicago better and safer. This is why it's important that our officers hear our community members, because we have to be one. That's why I expect every single one of our officers to be a community police officer. Not just the community policing office, but every officer engaging with members of our community so that we know and understand each other and we can have conversations. Some of them may be tough, but those conversations will be absolutely necessary to build this relationship. But most of all, here in Inglewood and across this beautiful city of Chicago, it's going to take the effort of everyone to get to the public safety that we expect to get to. I see faces here right now of people that I've worked with in this community. I see you. And we did some great things while I was here in the brief period that I was here, but we did it together. We did it with mutual respect. I understood the community and the community members, and I understood the work that they had to put in. I understood their challenges. So my officers began to understand those challenges. And when we can walk in someone's shoes, even for a moment, we have a better understanding of who it is we're dealing with. And I'd like to thank you for that. Because we want to deal with violent crime, we've initiated a new strategy. It started this summer across the city, where we were collaborating between the Detective Division, the Bureau of Patrol, the Bureau of Counterterrorism, and we're using technology. Since then, since the summer, we've increased our arrests on robberies by 26%. Year to date, murders are down 12%. That's 85 less people killed this year than last year. Now, any life lost is unacceptable, any life lost. But think about it, we have 85 less people killed than the year prior. Our shootings are down 13%, and our shooting victims are down 17%. That's for a total of 564 less people shot this year. Still, we have work to do. That's 564 less people who are traumatized. 564 families who don't have to deal with that trauma. However, there's still families out there dealing with the trauma. There's still victims dealing with the trauma. As a result of that, we know we still have more work to do, but the officers who are out there working right now, and I can tell you that they are working very hard, and they're working hard on your behalf. They're putting their lives on the line every single day just to make sure that you can have a safe day. I'm proud of the work that they're doing. And I can tell you right now, these officers want to help. Obviously, there will be levels of accountability in anything that we do, and we're going to police constitutionally. There are things that we have to change. There are things that we have to improve upon, and we are working diligently to make that happen. But while that's happening, our officers continue to work they continue to go out there to make Chicago safer. So after 3 decades of doing this, I can tell you right now at this moment, I can't be more prouder than I am right now of those officers who are out there working their fingers to the bone to keep everyone safe. I say all this to say one thing. CPD cannot do this alone. We have to work with partners. We cannot arrest our way out of these situations, because even when we stop the violent individual, what do we do after that individual is arrested? What are we providing? What resources are out there for reform of this individual? That's the only way that we're going to get to the bottom of this. We can't stop at an arrest. Enforcement without engagement is a losing game. CPD is partnering with our communities and every city agency to make the city safer. CPD needs and will work alongside our city partners, our business leaders, educators, youth, medical professionals, mental health experts, clergy, outreach workers, and community organizations. Everyone sitting on this stage here today in collaboration is an example of what is needed for public safety, true public safety. For too long, our communities have carried the burden of violence and trauma that ripples through their lives. We talk a lot about statistics and percentages, but what we need to talk about are the victims. They're human beings who should not get lost in the numbers and percentages. Their stories should be told. That is why we will be adding crime victim advocates who will walk alongside victims on their healing journey. We're also enhancing our family liaison program, which focuses on supporting the loved ones of murder victims. This is our city. These are our families. These are our children. We have a responsibility to create a safe living condition for all residents. I believe by working together, we can and will make Chicago safer for all. This city and our neighborhoods and our community members deserve no less. Everyone sitting in this room here today, we're all here for the same purpose. We want a safer city where everybody can thrive. And seeing everyone on this stage, working together, holding ourselves accountable, tells me that this is the start of something great. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone for being here. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Iggy, the next speaker. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. And thank you, Superintendent, for the introduction. So my name is Simba Ige, and today I go by Public Health. So just stop and say Public Health. And I'm going to start with a question. Can you be healthy if you're afraid? The answer to that is no. I want to express my gratitude to Mayor Johnson, the Deputy Mayor Gatewood, and the entire Mayor's Office of Community Safety for the opportunity to be part of this great announcement. But what I am most excited about is to be in a room full of people who share the same vision for a safe and healthy Chicago. Behind me are the leaders of this city. In front of me are the people of the city. I am a doctor by training, and I know firsthand the trauma of violence. But look around. The people who are impacted by violence are people who look like me. So this is personal to me. I have the privilege of being a mother to a 21-year-old African-American man and an 18-year-old African-American teenager. I worry. I am concerned. I know what it is like for mothers out there who worry and are concerned. But I am also now in a position of leadership in our great city. There is no better time to be standing here in front of you, because now we have the whole force of government and the partnership of many of you to solve a problem that has plagued our city for many, many years. So I am excited to be the leader of the Chicago Public Health Department. Our job is to keep our city safe, to keep our city healthy. But we cannot be healthy if we're afraid. And so we have been working hard to help identify the root causes of violence. Why do we have violence in certain communities and not others? Why are there certain groups of people impacted by violence more than others? And what we found is that anywhere where there is a lack of opportunity and resources, violence emerges. So to solve violence, we have to address those root causes: lack of opportunity and lack of resources. And that is why we are excited about this plan. I said, call me public health. The word public is people. So I am excited that this is a people's plan for community safety. This is about people. This is about people who look like me, working together to make our city safe. So at CDPH, we are focused on closing the gap in life expectancy between Black Chicagoans and white Chicagoans. If you are born Black in the city, you live about 10 years younger than if you're not Black. It makes no sense. There is no biological reason for that. The main reason why that is so is unequal access to resources and opportunities to be healthy. And that is our mission. Gun violence is one of the top causes of premature mortality in our Black and brown communities. Gun violence is a public health issue. Gun violence requires a public health response, and that's why I'm here. And this means CDPH taking responsibility to be part of the solution. It means taking a comprehensive approach to addressing the root causes of gun violence, including the inequities in health services. When you have stress, when you have mental health issues, you need services to help you cope. We need more opportunities for good quality education, for housing, for economic opportunity. These are the things that precipitate violence in our most invested communities. And it means creating sustainable violence prevention and intervention programs that centers community input and collaboration. We cannot sit in our offices and design plans and solutions to problems without people. Public health is about people. So this is about collaboration and working together, every one of us bringing our best to the table to solve this problem. Through this plan, we are investing in community health workers. What does that mean? People from the community guiding the response. They know the community, they work with the community to interrupt violence. We are expanding the role of health professionals in crisis response. When someone is in crisis, they need professionals who understand how to respond to those crises as part of the response. We also are supporting victim services and street outreach programs. We're increasing access to behavioral health services, including services for people living with substance use disorders. This work of violence prevention requires everyone working together. If there's one word you've heard today, it's partnership. Partnership, partnership, partnership. I am looking forward to working with you all, to learning from and ensuring that our plan and our interventions and our programs and services are driven by the community's input so that our action is guided and tailored to what the community needs. I want to thank the amazing people at CDPH. We have a fantastic behavioral health team and violence prevention team at CDPH. They have been working very hard with the Community Safety Coordination Center to ensure that we are represented in this work. I appreciate your commitment, everyone who's sitting down and listening to all these many speeches, because you're committed to making our city safer. And we remain committed to making Chicago safe and healthier for all of us. And I want to welcome now Andrea Saenz, the President and CEO of the Chicago Community Trust, to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Ige. Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes, todos. To give you a little background, the Trust is the region's community foundation, founded in 1915 to address our community's most pressing issues. And in 2019, we embarked on a moonshot mission to close Chicago's racial and ethnic wealth gap, largely informed by public health research that ties this growing wealth disparity, basically the resources that someone has to take care of themselves, their family, and their community, and the huge difference that exists in those resources across racial and ethnic lines in Chicago. Those disparities are really at the root of so many of the issues that we are all trying to tackle, from poor health outcomes to gun violence. And we're committed to a thriving, vibrant Chicago for all Chicagoans. And as a philanthropic institution, we get to partner with community-led efforts, invest in innovative ideas that come from community solutions to these issues, and then partner with government and other institutions to bring those ideas to scale when they work. So what works can get adopted. We fund the research, we try to learn, we try to educate. That's what many of us who are in the philanthropic field get to do every day. And the gun violence crisis in Chicago harms us all, but we know it most acutely harms those people living in our most disinvested neighborhoods, whose residents are largely Black and Latino. We're all here today because we know it doesn't have to be that way, and we're all committed to changing that. So today, I'm going to lift up a few examples of the things that have brought us all together to tackle gun violence, systemic disinvestment, and expand opportunities for all Chicagoans. One such example, the Trust is a longtime supporter and proud administrative home of the Illinois Justice Project, who I am surprised to say are all here today. I didn't know you'd be here. Hi, friends. It's a small and mighty team that advances policies and practices that reduce violence, decrease prison recidivism, and make the legal system more equitable and more effective. We're also a founding member of the Partnership for Safe and Peaceful Communities, also many of whom are here today in the room. A coalition of more than 50 foundations that have been working together to support community-led, evidence-based solutions to violence for several years. We now have solid evidence that those solutions are working. So we've put our attention behind scaling those things in partnership with many of the folks who are here on this podium and many people across the city. We want to bring these solutions to scale. Chicago's community violence intervention network has grown to more than 24 organizations active in nearly half of our 77 community areas, including all of those with the highest levels of gun violence. Collectively, they serve more than 3,000 individuals, representing about 15 to 20% of the highest risk populations. That is not enough. So scaling community violence intervention efforts are underway with neighborhood-specific approaches that are data-driven and community-led. And while our collective efforts to immediately reduce gun violence are essential, communities most impacted by violence also need new, sustained economic investment and job opportunities now. We're seeing progress and momentum there as well. I'll just call out a couple of examples. North Lawndale Employment Network opened a beautiful space in 2021. They're also involved in community violence intervention, but their space is designed to provide job training, job opportunities, primarily to people formerly incarcerated. And their space includes a social enterprise, Beloved Cafe, and a bank. Not only are they helping folks build skills and get jobs, but we're starting to see increased economic activity for the small businesses that surround that community anchor. Another example of that activity, Build in North Austin Community Center opened new spaces also to create safe environments for young people in Austin. And we're also seeing increased economic activity for the businesses surrounding that area and for the communities around there as a result of those things. So those are promising early indicators that when we put our resources to work in communities, good things happen. United Power is reclaiming Chicago's vacant lots and has built nearly 60 new homes across 4 neighborhoods, including in Roseland. Equity and Transformation is leading a guaranteed income pilot for returning citizens in Garfield Park. These are all promising initiatives and community-led examples of the work that we get to support with leaders who are building a more equitable and safe Chicago for all of us. And these solutions must grow. So I'm going to pass the baton gladly to someone who is taking a leadership role to help some of these solutions and others grow. I'm pleased to introduce Eric Smith, Vice Chair of BMO and Co-Chair of the Civic Committee's Public Safety Task Force, representing our business community's commitment to working with all of us to make Chicago the safest big city in the U.S.
Good afternoon. I'd first like to thank Mayor Johnson for his vision and his leadership in bringing together our communities to focus on public-private partnership. On behalf of the Civic Committee, we recognize the important role that the business community must play as we think about ways that we can support the effort around public safety. This is the first and the most important initiative that we have at hand. We recognize that in order to create a thriving community, we must focus on creating a safe community. In the coming months, the business community will be working to raise important funding, approximately $100 million, to support some of the efforts that have been described today. We'd like to make sure that we can provide the funding to support the community violence intervention programs that are critical to addressing public safety and to making sure that they can scale up to reach those neighborhoods and communities that have the highest rate of crime. And once someone goes through that program, we want to make sure that they have a job, and that will be critical to providing an alternative pathway to crime. We'd also like to make sure that we can focus on economic development through our partnership and working with foundations and with other community leaders and the community at large to ensure that we're investing in communities to ensure that no matter what zip code a child may be born into, that they have every opportunity to succeed. We also want to work collaboratively with our superintendent, Larry Snelling, to make sure that we can provide the funding that will be needed for hiring and training and development, for technology, for workforce optimization, and the resources that we believe will be critical to addressing this. And then lastly, as a business community, we want to make sure that not only do we have goals and objectives, but that we have metrics. And our goal is to ensure that Chicago is the safest city in the country, and that we become a national model for what that looks like. Through public and private partnership, we believe that it is possible to achieve that goal, and we look forward to playing our role as part of the business community in that endeavor. With that, it's my honor to represent one of our community partners, Akeem Shoyan, who is the co-executive director of Circles and Ciphers.
The more you know about somebody, the less likely you are to harm them. You know? The more you know about somebody, the less likely you are to harm them. When I think about community safety and what it means to me, I think about that first time a mother holds her child, this idea of protection, warmth, care. On the opposite end, I think about a lot of the young people that are in disenfranchised communities that never got that support, never got that love, or got it and lost it over time. You know, I think about adverse childhood experiences, if anyone's familiar with that. But they say the more traumatic incidents that a young person has in their life, the more likely they are to cause harm in society. And at Circles and Ciphers, the youth-led organization that I'm a part of and been a part of since I was 19 years old, I've been blessed to be in a space where I feel safe, I feel community, and I get that love and care from my team. I'm also thinking about my little brother who lost 2 people in the past 2 months and how he's going through this time of grief. And I know we working and we play this role at Circles and Ciphers. I'm the co-executive director, but that was a moment for me to really look and think about our team and how we can support little bro. He's gonna go through a tough time with his grief. But a lot of the work that we do looks like going to the Social Security office and going with a young person to get their Social Security, or going to the driver's ed test and walking with them in that process. Maybe they can use my car, you know what I'm saying? But this process of walking with the young person, relentless engagement and accompaniment, that's really important. I know it's important for me. So when I think about this idea of community safety, I know it starts in here. I know it starts internally. It starts with you all in this room. We on the stage, you know, as vets. But at the same time, you all are just as important. We need your voices. We need all the resources in this room. And I know we've been meeting for a good time now, at least over the summer, really trying to make sure that we fulfill all the gaps, from mental health resources to DCFS to community organizers such as myself. And we've all come together to try and devise a strategy that makes sense for our young people. And you know, hip hop, it saved my life, you know, and I know the arts have saved my life. And as I think about how we come together and how we can, you know, do more for our young people in the city of Chicago, I think about this African proverb, and it goes like this: a child who feels abandoned or unsupported will burn down the village just to feel its warmth. A child that feels abandoned or unsupported will burn it down to feel its warmth. And I think about that, and I think about all the youngins that we got in the city. I think about somebody sliding to the Nike outlet and robbing the outlet and robbing the cars and different things like that. And it gets really easy to pin that responsibility and look at that young person in that moment and take away that full story, because we didn't get the other pieces. We saw them for that moment. And I think as we continue to think about safety and we continue to think about community, we got to remember that story. We got to remember that each and every one of us here has a story. So I thank y'all. I appreciate that. One more thing. Please welcome my big brother, Gary and Gatewood, back up.
I brought this back up. I'm not actually about to do a whole nother speech. Listen, thank you all. Honestly, I want to thank our teams. I want to thank you all who've been a part of this journey. The real work starts now. We appreciate you all for rocking with us. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you, Alderman Coleman, for welcoming us with open arms to Inglewood. Thank you, Alderman Irvin, Alderman Yancey, and Alderman Rodriguez for the work that we'll be doing and building together. And thank you, everybody, for spending time with us. With that, go get some of that food. Thank you for the time you all had with us. For the folks in the press who are here, the mayor will take a few questions off stage for you to be able to open up and have some discussion. So thank you all.